Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you guys again for all the notes of care and reaching out and seeing how I'm doing and stuff like that. This is day 5, so this will be my like video update of how it's like living with coronavirus as we go through it. So uh, I'll go over. I tried to prepare a little bit. This is acetate from a mask, from a shield. Uh, so I'll go through symptoms, the testing process, because that's really the call to action, really, and then just some reflections and some thoughts that I've had so far. First of all, I look like shit, and I know that. Uh, I feel today I feel like I was probably like 20% energy. I feel worse today than I did yesterday. Um, I felt more tired and more headache. So my symptoms continue to be headache, fatigue, and loss of taste and smell. Those are the main symptoms. I'm also developing a mild cough, which I'm monitoring, and drinking lots of water and getting sleep and all that stuff. So um, the fatigue today hit really hard. So I slept 12 hours and it was pretty good sleep. I slept from like 11 to actually like to 11:30 this morning. And then I did a 80-minute workout and or exercise. These aren't like intense exercises. These are like there's like a lot of stretching and breathing exercises actually that are a part of it. So and I maintain a 70% um, effort type of mentality in my exercise. So I know it might be concerning for you that hey, you're still doing exercise when you're sick. Like, hey, shit, that's a good idea. Actually, the exercise makes me feel a lot better, and it's not classical weight training exercise either. So it's not like stuff that you do at Good Life. Um, so it's a lot more like breathing and massaging and stretching and stuff, as well as strength training. So strength training is only a small part of it. Um, but I did that, and then I went to work for like about half an hour, and then like I couldn't do anything more. Felt really tired. I had lunch, and then I passed out on the couch for like another 2 hours. So I slept probably around 14 hours today. So, but I don't feel like fully refreshed still now. Um, and I'm talking to you guys just as is. Like I could, if I wanted to, I could like kind of bring back the energy, like talk the way that I normally talk, and I can do that. I could do the whole video like this, but I don't want to. So I think it's more important for it's more educational to be authentic on Insta, even. So those are my symptoms. Also, the good news is that my parents are okay. They got COVID tested and they both came back negative. Both my roommates are also totally fine. Uh, very, very thankful for that. Um, so yeah, both of them are asymptomatic, and they're they're doing great actually. So that's actually gives me a lot of comfort and relief to know that. Um, the second part is the testing process. So a lot of people have asked me about testing actually and what that's like. Um, so all the tests that I've done, and again, I've done probably about 5 of them by now. Only the last one, only this last one has been positive. I just show up at a testing center, and you can go on Google Maps and just type in COVID testing center. So the one that I went to for this most recent one is the Branson Center, North York General Branson branch at Bathurst and Finch. So there I just showed up. I didn't call in advance or nothing. I just drove there. I parked and then I waited in line for 2 hours. There's 2 lines. I mentioned this in my story, but there's a line for symptomatic and a line for asymptomatic. And I think like that was probably I think the last day that they allowed asymptomatic people to get treated or to get tested if you had no other risk criteria. So in front of me are all these people who are sick, basically. So that part might be a little bit intimidating for people, and the fact that I had to wait 2 hours just to get my test. But that's that's the way it is right now. So um, you wait in line. 99% of your time at a COVID testing center is to wait in line, and everyone's very respectful. I've never had a case where anyone was anything other than courteous when I was there, from the staff to the people I was in line with. Everyone they just know, like, this is what it is. So they're all acting accordingly. So you wait in line, you go there, you give them your health card information, they verify your address and stuff like that. Assuming now you're going now when you're symptomatic, they will have, once you get registered, again, that's like probably an hour and a half just to get to that point. You're just standing in line up until that point to get registered. Then you wait in line again for a secondary triage to happen, where they take your temperature and I assume your blood pressure, whatever that thing is that they put on your arm. So they ask you a few questions, any prior, any existing conditions and stuff like that. And they'll take your temperature, and then after that, then you go into another line, and then you wait to get called to get into a waiting room, and then you wait for the doctor to come and imagine a Q-tip. You probably would have seen this already. It's a Q-tip that goes up into your nose, and it goes deep into your nose. So basically as far back as you would imagine it can go. So it is uncomfortable, but the good news is that it only lasts 10 seconds. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, oh yeah, it's fine, it's comfortable. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary so far. So it's a small price to pay, I would say, and it's only 10 seconds. Don't let that discourage you from doing it. Like, you will be fine. It's just the Q-tip up your nose. And then for me, I got tested on the Wednesday. It was Saturday before I heard anything back, and up until even tonight is Monday night. So I've waited 5 days, and the website actually still has not updated. So the COVID assessment website still shows results not available. But I've been checking throughout. The first indication that I tested positive was my doctor calling me my personal doctor calling me on Saturday around 4 p.m. And he informed me that I tested positive. And then on Sunday, a doctor from North York General called me to also let me know. She said it's actually very good of my family doctor to have called me yesterday, because that's not usually the case, where the family doctor will call you on the Saturday. So she said that was more prudent of my doctor than typical. So I still have not been contacted by Toronto Public Health. It is still just my personal family doctor and a North York General doctor. So that is basically the process so far. For COVID Alert app, you need to log into that site to get a reference key. And then once you get that reference key, you put that into the COVID Alert app. You say, hey, I've tested positive. You put in your code, and then they'll alert anyone who you've been in proximity of 2 meters for more than 15 minutes of, or your phones have been in proximity for that duration, and in that proximity, they will be alerted as well. But I so far still do not have that code because the website still says the results are not available. So unfortunately, that part is not the case, but I've contacted everyone, especially since I've had symptoms, which is just my roommates. So there's no one else to contact. On the call with the North York General doctor, it was actually very interesting because she was asking me a lot of questions. She was like super friendly, first of all. Um, and she asked me like, "Oh, what made you go get the test?" And I said, "Oh, I have a 71-year-old roommate, and so I just had a headache, and I was feeling like a little bit, like I was feeling like a little bit of muscle aches, but mostly just like a headache just like any other headache." And I went to get tested because I live with someone in an at-risk category. And she said, I'm actually the first person who she's contacted who's gone to get tested just because of a headache, which is a good thing because that means we can catch it earlier. Most people will wait, and by that time, or think that it's nothing. And then by that time, it increases the risk of contaminating others. So that was really like comforting to hear, that you did everything right, more so than the general population. Um, Another thing that was interesting is that I was also asking her how she was doing because I'm like, I noticed that it's Sunday afternoon and you're giving me a call. Like, are you like, is this like a call center or what is this center that you are calling me from? And she's actually a doctor. Like, she's actually someone who administers the test and she's actually a certified doctor. And I was like, wow, like, thank you for your service. And like, what is it like for you? And she said that like, she feels actually safer going to work. And I'm like, yeah, like, do you feel adequately protected going to work? And she says, yeah, she feels safer going to work than going to get groceries or going to get, like, especially the pharmacy. She's like, the pharmacy is like the worst because people just don't know how to use stuff and they're probably sick. That's why they're there. So, uh, she was like, she feels safest when she is at work because it's such a controlled environment. So, again, I hope that adds some more confidence that if you're worried about getting infected while you're at a COVID testing center where everyone else is sick, I hope you feel a little bit more at ease as someone who goes to work every day. Well, not every day. She goes into the Branson site several times a week. Um, she feels safest there. Um, and another interesting thing that she said is that I was like, I was like trying to wrap up the call saying like, yeah, thanks, like it's Sunday, so, I don't want to keep you. Um, but I'm curious, like, how many other people are you going to call today? And she said, she's just a doctor at the Northrick General Branson site. And in that one site that I got tested, there's over 100 people that she has to call that tested positive um, within a day or two from one site in Toronto. So the fact that today we released like numbers of like 700 in Ontario is kind of not particularly surprising now, having heard the number from the doctors before of just one site in 1 or 2 days being over 100 people that she has to contact. So it's definitely concerning. So, but it is the reality that we live with now. I would say also that no one wants to get tested or no one wants to have it. I don't want to have COVID, believe me. And I know people who are symptomatic but choose not to go get tested because they feel like it's nothing. And I would encourage you to go get tested anyways, to confirm that it is nothing. Because the symptoms that can be presented to you may be different from mine, and they may be very mild. And it's like Kaiser Sose, right? Like in The Usual Suspects, like the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to make you believe that he didn't exist. And it's a similar thing with coronavirus. Is it just you think that you don't have it because you feel mostly fine, and so you don't take the necessary action. The headache that I had, it feels just like any other headache that I would have after a long day of work, which I did have on Wednesday. But it's purely because, well, probably like heavily because I live with an at-risk, someone in an at-risk population, that I decided to go and get it tested to err on the side of caution. And it turned out to be positive. And so that's the best case scenario, that we find out early. And yeah, I would say don't let the fear of you actually having it stop you from finding out if you have it or not. And that's only up to you to know why you're not getting tested, even if you have symptoms. Which ones are excuses and what are legitimate reasons. So that's for you to self-reflect upon. And that brings me to the next point. So the third section would be like just some general thoughts. So one would be like the importance of self-awareness. I think it's being aware of how your body feels. A lot of times we're very busy and we don't actually take the time to self-diagnose in terms of getting like a self-diagnostic check, basically like a car would, you know? So just kind of taking like 2 seconds and just doing a body scan, which is trying to see, like, just kind of paying attention to your whole body from top down all the way to your feet, just to see where you might be holding tension, where there might be like pain or just discomfort. That way you're more attuned with your body. And then also being aware of anything that is illogical and trying to be aware of why you behave that way, like why you would not want to get a test, or why you still want to go to the grocery store just for something small, like do you weigh the risk and stuff like that, making sure that it's an adequate trade-off. So that's one major thing that I would recommend, is just taking, like, it doesn't even have to take long, 10 seconds even, just to kind of, longer the better, but just kind of body scanning to be aware of how you feel, and how your emotions are like, and what you're thinking in your mind as well. Another thing is, I still care what people think. That's like, even though the last video I was saying, like, one of the things that I learned is to try to not care about anything negative that people say. I think it's basically like impossible. So I still care what people think, and that words matter, intent matters. And that was something that I was thinking a lot about yesterday, about, do we make decisions and do we say things out of an interpretation that we have in abundance, or out of a place where we're scared? So I think as I develop that thought more, I'll do a post on that later, but just thinking of what state of mind we are in, and what you say to people, and what decisions you make to do. Are you making those decisions because it's out of love, or is it out of fear? Is it out of blame? And that's something that is very interesting and very relevant, I think, to our current political climate. So, well, not ours, the American political climate especially, but applicable to every decision that we make. Are you making that decision out of fear or out of love? And then probably one of the last things, this video is longer than I expected again, is that just because, well, actually, I just wanted to say that I take COVID very seriously. it's a sensitive topic. It's a scary topic. People die from this. I could die from this. I don't know. Statistically speaking, I will live through this, but I could die. I could permanently lose my taste and smell. That could happen. Um, and don't think that I don't take this seriously and that this is like happy-go-lucky. And it's it's not. But I think that even in quote unquote tough times, that doesn't mean you have to like lose your sense of humor or your sense of adventure or your curiosity. Um, and it doesn't mean that you have to not, it doesn't mean you have to long for these other times that are not real. So, yeah, I wish I was better. I wish I was back at work, but that's not the reality that I'm in right now. And that's okay. Like, there's opportunity and there's hilarity in my current predicament. And I will continue to try to pursue those avenues. And also, from a logical perspective, the more that you worry about it, worrying and stress increases your cortisol levels, which increases your inflammation, and the cortisol levels is your flight or flight response. And if you're in a constant state of worry, then you're not in a positive state of being. And so your decisions and your thoughts and your actions and your emotions will reflect that. And so I'm the one with COVID and I'm saying it's fine. Like, so uh, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm going to try to make the most out of my situation, my reality. Um, I'm going to try to make the most of this, even though it's not the desired path that I want to take. But I'm going to try to make the most of it anyways. And, this is the last bit, but a lot of people are wondering how I got this, right? Me too. Like, I wonder how I got this. But it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that, like my roommates are asymptomatic, my parents tested negative. Um, like that gives me a lot of comfort because these are the people that I'm putting most at risk. And um, one thing that I've realized about myself this year is that, like, especially in the context of relationships, like it's not my own, like, what gives me pain in a breakup is not losing my friend, my best friend. It's seeing them cry and knowing that I've caused them pain, and that pain that they experience is because of me, and specifically because they love me. And that that pain that you can cause other people is much more painful to me than the absence of that person. So that was something that I learned this year, that what would hurt me more than COVID is knowing that I would have infected other people and that they are hurt because they're my friend, family, or friends, and that's why they're around me. And that's what gives me the most pain. And so know that I take COVID very seriously, even if my attitude or character seems more jovial than the situation would typically produce in a person. And when I think back, there's nothing that, there was never a time where I let up on it. Like, there was no one I came into contact with that I knowingly knew had COVID. Um, yeah, there's no, like, there was no time when I went into public that I was not protected myself with some type of mask or face covering. And it just reminds me that, like, there's no product right now that guarantees your safety. You can follow all the protocols that the government mandates, but even the government cannot guarantee you will not catch COVID if you follow all the protocols. And so it only minimizes your chances. It reduces your chances of catching it. And so it's incredibly important to follow all the protocols, which to my knowledge I have. Um, and but it doesn't mean that because I follow it, I can't get it. And it just reduces your chances. And I, by chance or by some act, have gotten it. And so these protocols that we have, they buy us time. It's flattening the curve that we're doing, which is not eliminating the curve. We're flattening it, which means it's a deferral. So in accounting, I studied accounting. So like it's an RRSP. Our protocols are investing in RRSPs. You're still going to pay tax. It's just later on when you can bear that tax much better. So people are still going to get sick. You're just spreading out that duration of when people get sick. So you will follow everything right and still get sick. It's just a matter of time. And it might not be this year, it might not be the next 5 years, but people still get the flu, right? Like people still get sick no matter what precautions that we take. There's right now just currently no 100% precaution. And when I think back, there hasn't been a time where I've exposed myself to a risk that would be, yeah, that didn't align with government protocols or just common sense of covering up. Um, so I think actually it's better to prepare for it. So don't wish that you'll never get it, but wish to be prepared for it when it happens is probably could be more useful for you. So continue to do what you can to keep your body and mind healthy, boost your immune system. If you can taste things, man, eat a delicious dinner for me or eat a delicious meal for me, because I get zero, or I shouldn't say zero, I get a lot less enjoyment out of eating than I used to. But that also gives me an opportunity to eat healthier than I ever have, because taste is absolutely not a factor now. So trying to make the most of that. So yeah, so this is almost 30 minutes, so I'm gonna cut this off now. But thank you guys so much. This is day 5 update. Thank you so much and stay safe.